Hey, frequent flyers. This is Captain Jeff. And before we get to this episode of TV Pilot's License, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for being a frequent flyer. Thank you for joining us on this journey. And thanks for sticking with us as we stood in solidarity with SAG-AFTRA and the WGA. We are so excited for what is to come. And I wanted to give a little thanks by sharing something that we recorded right before the strike began. We love you. We're thankful for you. Keep on sending your recommendations to our phone number and of course, your emails. I know Rich, Max, and myself are so excited to continue flying to some of your favorite and least favorite destinations and reviewing some of your TV shows that you recommend. So until then, thanks for sticking with us. We're so excited to continue this journey. Now, let's take a little trip to Shondaland.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License flight number 46 with service to Washington, D.C. and Shondaland. We ask that you please fasten your headphones at this time, secure your podcasting device, and remember, if you are wearing a suit and don't consider yourself a gladiator, just give up.
Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Jeff Kurbis, joined by Max Singer and Rich Inman. How you boys doing today?
Oh man, I am so good. Folks at home, if it feels like everyone in your Instagram feed is going to Europe, they're not. They're all going to Shondaland.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Rich, how about you?
I paid $250 for Fast Pass at Shondaland.
Well, boys, this week we are talking about one of Shonda Rhimes' most successful series in Scandal. But before we dive in, if you want to watch the episode before you listen, you can find it on Hulu. But gentlemen, our cabin seems a little bit empty, and I feel like in order to appropriately navigate Shondaland, we need an expert within the space.
Yeah.
Someone who makes things happen and serves justice, especially to navigate the swampy DC politics that we're about to discuss. So, our guest pilot this week is a writer on iCarly and can currently be found striking for writer and actor rights. They are a kick-ass human being who doesn't need a suit to be considered a gladiator. Please welcome Korama Danquah. Korama, welcome to the podcast.
Back, Korama.
Thank you. I love that I'm your Shonda girly. Can't wait till you do Bridgerton, because that one's real funny.
we're doing them all. We're checking them off, and we're not bringing anyone else to talk about them because no one else makes me understand them quite like you do.
Yes, you give us so much content.
It is true. And also, I do want to mention that, Korama, in your notes here, it says in parentheses, Los Angeles Regional Pickleball Champion. Can you explain that? Is that you?
I literally did not write that. I don't know who wrote that.
That was me. I'm like, I'm not gonna force a double union striking artist to promote anything they don't want to do. So we're gonna talk about Karama's illustrious pickleball career instead.
Oh my god!
I mean, people are saying it's America's fastest growing sport.
It is America's fastest growing sport. I see signs on like public parks, like we have pickleball courts, and I'm just like, who is playing pickleball?
My parents are playing pickleball.
Jeff's mom and dad.
It's a dad sport. Yeah.
It's wild that this thing that was just geared towards geriatrics for so long is now the hottest thing amongst our generation. It's kind of like Steely Dan.
Well, I just watched. I didn't realize how evolved this game had been. I watched something called Wimbledon today, and I think it's just big pickleball. Have you guys been watching?
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see how this Wimbledon event goes. Well,
big for the
folks,
sport.
we are talking about Scandal, but if you are joining us today to listen to Korama, or maybe you've just randomly found our podcast, Max, why don't you tell people what this podcast is all about?
So here at TV Pilot's License, we analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn about how these programs came to be and a little bit of their history, decide if they're effective pilots and make us want to watch more, and if they could be made today. Go back, check us out wherever you get your podcasts from. Listen to shows you may know and love. Go find shows you may never have heard before if you're feeling spicy. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
And Rich, what is your question of the week?
Oh boy. The one thing that couldn't stop coming to mind from like even the first like couple minutes of this show is, I mean, number one, I love that Josh Molina is in this. I'm a huge West Wing fan. I would like to know, is Aaron Sorkin just the white Shonda Rhimes? Like, what's happening here? Everyone's talking so fast. It sounds like Twista wrote all the scripts for this.
I mean, I will say, I think if Shonda Rhimes decides to make a sports-centric TV show about sports, about TV anchors, then I'm going to think you're onto something, Rich, because I can't wait for when we do Sports Night.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite Aaron Sorkin, like, written things ever. Like, even more than West Wing. But, like, yeah, there's definitely some meat to that, like, conspiracy theory of maybe Shonda Rhimes has just been using Aaron Sorkin as like almost like a figurehead for her amazing writing.
Here's the thing.
Oh no.
Shonda Rhimes could write a West Wing type show.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Sorkin could never write Queen Charlotte. Aaron Sorkin could never create like a Queen Charlotte and I know that she's like a producer and not necessarily the creator, but Aaron Sorkin's name would never be on a Queen Charlotte. You know what I mean? So he doesn't have the range. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say Shonda could easily do Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip and make it palatable.
Anyone could have done Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
I also don't think that Aaron Sorkin could write the beloved classic film Crossroads. So, there's range.
I also just don't think that Shonda Rhimes has the, like, male hubris to be like, this beloved 70-year-old musical, I could do a better take on it, like Sorkin's currently doing with Camelot on Broadway.
Oh my gosh, Max!
Wait, what?
The current revival of Camelot that's on Broadway right now. The book for it was done by Aaron Sorkin. I don't know if we need to learn like a walk and talk in King Arthur's court. Like, I don't know what we're getting out of the Sorkin Camelot
here.
He
needs to stop. He needs to stop. To Kill a Mockingbird was fine. To Kill a Mockingbird, I understood why he was doing that. I got it. But Camelot?
We will not rest until every show is Aaron Sorkin.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
To ease your pain a little bit, Camelot got ended early in its run. That's how underwhelming it was seen by some folks on Broadway. Rich.
Oh no, I'm so surprised.
If ever it would leave you, it would be in summer.
Oh my God, Max. Rich, you created this conspiracy theory. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I just think I think there is a level to the speed at which people are supposed to be talking in certain scripts or in certain TV shows that kind of lend to. I feel like people only write that way to make it sound more important than it is. Because how long is this script? It's a 48-minute pilot. It has to be like 120 pages long. They are zooming through things. It is really like mind-blowing just to see that. And yeah, I haven't really felt this way since I watched like The Newsroom, which I think is the last like Aaron Sorkin TV show that I got caught up in.
Yeah. Oh boy, wait till we do that. Well, Rich,
we don't have to. We don't have to do that.
No, we're doing it. We're doing it for sure.
Welcome to TV Pilot's License. We're doing this against our will.
Yeah, we take suggestions and spites.
Well, Rich, thank you for your question of the week. Before we dive into Scandal too deep, a word from our sponsors. Let's talk a little bit about Scandal, and we'll start off with a synopsis. A former White House communications director starts her own crisis management firm, only to realize her clients are not the only ones with secrets. Short and sweet, but Max, what went into making Scandal?
Absolutely. So we are talking about Shonda Rhimes once again. If you want to learn more about the incredible backstory of this now powerhouse titan, go and check out our Grey's Anatomy episode. Also guest starring the wonderful Korama Danquah. But Yes, Shonda Rhimes, writer of cultural touchstones like the Britney Spears starring Crossroads and Princess Diaries 2, Royal Engagement, and nothing else more important than that. So
Welcome
we're
back
a few
to
years
Genovia.
in. We're a few years in to Grey's Anatomy at this point. Shonda Rhimes has had a few other developed concepts at ABC that have not come to fruition. And she is introduced to a woman by the name of Judy Smith by her producing partner, Betsy Beers. Judy Smith is the inspiration for Scandal, a former White House aide and political crisis manager under George H.W. Bush with a career dating back to Iran-Contra. And Rhimes takes this meeting with Smith and expects it to be like a 20-minute just like face meeting, getting to know each other. And according to Rhimes, they end up sitting down for 2 hours, and she knows immediately that this woman is going to be the subject of her next show. So Smith, before going on to start her own private firm, works for the Bush administration in the late 80s, early 90s, worked with Bush under the Reagan years as well, and then starts this private sector firm where she works as a crisis manager on big stories of the late 90s and early 2000s, including the Monica Lewinsky story, Mike Vick and Chandra Levy, the DC aide who disappeared. And Rhimes basically wants to take this woman and make a like thriller drama out of it. And so she knows that she needs a like A-list movie star talent to make it work. This is going to be a star vehicle type show. And then becomes Kerry Washington as Olivia Pope, who beats out the likes of Gabrielle Union and Taraji P. Henson. So Washington, Rhimes, and Smith work together as a three-hander to extensively build out this role, build out the world of the show. And I should note that Smith serves as an advisor and executive producer of the series, said she took calls at all hours of the night to get fact-checked on things from Shonda while writing this, and does assure us that any affair plot points with the President of the United States are entirely fabricated.
Oh, boo.
Damn. So that is going to take us to today's episode, the pilot of Scandal, titled Sweet Baby, which aired April 5th, 2012 on ABC.
Oh. That was my 21st birthday.
Oh my goodness.
Did you
Happy
stay
Scandal birthday.
No, I went out and got drunk with my mom.
Oh,
that sounds even better. That sounds like a blast. Well, are you guys ready to dive in to the swamp and talk a little bit about Scandal?
Hit me.
All right, absolutely. Awesome. Well, our cold open is very simply, we are in a bar and we meet two of our characters. And do we think that when Quinn and Harrison meet, that as the audience, not knowing that this is an interview, what are your first thoughts on like how aggressively these two characters are just talking to each other, almost in a way that seems like they have past beef, even though they have just met in this bar?
Yeah, this is what gave the Sorkin feeling for me, where I just like I couldn't, like, already subverting expectations with these two people who are very clearly have no more than 3 minutes to be social with anyone throughout the entire day. These are very, very busy people, very important. And honestly, Harrison sounds like a total dick with his normal life. It seems like I think the line was, I would only pay for dinner if I knew we were going to go home together or something like that. And
which is
this is not a place I would take out anyone on a first date.
He said he buys dinner on the first date because it makes them more likely to sleep with him or give him a second date. And I'm just like, the gamification in your mind, and this is before Tinder. So God knows what would happen if this man had Tinder in his hands.
That's absolutely insane. Yeah. Max, what did you think about this, like, sort of like weird cold open-esque scene that we got?
It sucks you in for sure. And what I love about this whole pilot in general is that, like, we as the audience see things through Quinn's eyes throughout it. She's kind of this vessel for us, which is super cool in a pilot. So it's like we're talking about this like prolific, not seen character a bunch in here. Like the way that Olivia Pope is like the record scratch name drop. It's like, oh, the Olivia Pope. Like that's why we're here. It like builds this suspense as to who this person is. Why are we here? Like what's their importance? I'm also just cracking up at the Harrison line of "I'm not a baby lawyer, I'm a gladiator in a suit." Baby lawyer, also starring Alec Baldwin, coming to theaters soon.
Yeah, the gladiator in a suit line is just such a wild thing to be throwing around. But there's one thing that bothers me about the scene, because it almost seems like this gigantic exposition dump of here's how important Olivia Pope is without actually saying anything about Olivia Pope.
Yeah.
We just sort of get this like...
I kind of love that, actually, because I think that if you tell me about Olivia Pope, it is not as impactful as seeing Olivia Pope negotiate with Ukrainian mobsters and be $3 million short on the ransom that she's paying them and get them to run scared. Like, I think that is far more impactful than anything Harrison could have said.
It is super interesting. Ever. Like, I definitely think they could have put like just one line of being like, you mean like the Olivia Pope, former White House director turned, XYZ, and
no, I wanted to turn into Olivia Pope, tall tale. It's like, I hear she's 10 feet tall and strong as an ox.
She lifted a whole school bus clean over her head.
Oh, you know what? Paul Bunyan. I'm thinking of Paul Bunyan. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Drain the swamp, Paul.
Start crying.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that scene that you were mentioning, Korama, because we do have this amazing scene of watching this art of the deal, almost, of going in, knowing you don't have what was required, and then coming out, but having like almost that ace up your sleeve in this instance of like, oh yeah, you're going to be on the no-fly list. Like, better get going with our $3 million. Like, worst case scenario.
Jeff, I like your new phrase, having a jack up your sleeve. It's like, we've got something like pretty good. It's not perfect.
Like, okay.
It's not like it's not guaranteed to win. But like, I got something pretty good.
This might work.
What did you guys think of this scene of like sort of Korama, as you mentioned? It's like it is giving us that exposition of just how smart and quick on her feet Olivia Pope is in this show as a whole,
and how she commands a room. And so I obviously watched this while it was airing many moons ago, and I have not revisited this pilot in over a decade. So I was watching it again last night, and I had a friend over, and he was watching it with me, and he had never seen this show before. So in the cold open, when they're talking about Olivia Pope, it's like, I know that you're going to take the crappy pay that I paid you because the way you stopped breathing when you heard the name Olivia Pope. He was like, who is Olivia Pope? He was begging for that information. He was like,
it's a real person.
Who this lady is. And then at the end of the negotiation scene, I just turned to him and I said, that's Olivia Pope. And it just felt like
Wait,
right.
You that's chappied him?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But
that's
like,
amazing.
I just feel like I think you have to time travel back to 2012 to really feel the impact of this scene, especially because of the fact that it had been probably decades since we had a drama led by a Black woman. And we get to see this Black woman in charge, handling shit, fixing shit. And it is the first time we ever see her. She is not in distress. She is completely in control of the situation. And that was not the landscape for television back then. Diversity was in a very different place.
Yeah, Korama, checking your point there. Kerry Washington is the first African-American woman to lead a network drama since Teresa Graves in Get Christy Love in 1974 at ABC.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it had been like 40 years.
Absolutely insane.
Whoa.
That's just it's upsetting, but it's also like amazing at the same time.
It was like if you were going to do network, it was going to be comedy, but to like top line a primetime drama series, it was like almost 40 years. And I think from what I saw that Get Christy Love was like a made for TV movie too. Like it was like just a primetime special. I don't even think it was like a long running series.
Mm-hmm.
That's so crazy.
Let's move a little bit forward in this sense, because it's not just, we don't just have one scandal in this episode of Scandal.
You
So
said the name.
we have multiple,
Greg.
but we have to first have this like almost meet the team-esque moment. Like
I love these scenes. I love a meet the team.
I wrote down, Max, in my notes, it says, "Oh my god, a meet the team scene." Max is excited.
I love when we get a crew together so much.
So like we do meet the team. We have our tech guy, like Harrison, whom we've already met, is like our charmer in this sense. Like he's going to be able to open doors. And then I believe, what are the other ones? We have Steven, who, like, from all I can tell, is a sex addict. Like, that's his only character trait that I believe
his job
has.
is litigator, Jeff. Okay, get it right.
Oh, okay, they're very similar. But then we also have Abby, and then at the end we also have Huck, our tech guy.
I just want to throw in there too. The tech guy, played by Guillermo Diaz, made famous from the Dave Chappelle movie Half Baked. That was a cameo I was not expecting at all. I love that so much.
It's not even a
on
cameo.
The whole 7-season run.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, like, through this meet the team scene, we get even more exposition. We're not really a law firm. We solve problems and crimes. We find out that the $3 million was for a kidnapping.
Yeah,
which,
there was a baby in that box.
Reveal. What a reveal.
Baby.
Why was that baby not crying in that box?
That baby is a really quiet baby. I was like, well, that's a good
Truly.
baby.
Oh my god.
Just a very stoic Russian baby. Like, da.
But we also get... we got this,
put me back in the box.
Oh my god. So we got this like throwaway line from Kerry Washington saying like, "Oh yeah, the FBI is sick of me," which like gives us like one final bit of like, okay, this is the sort of level. But then we have our A plot of this episode, which is a man walks in to Olivia Pope's office covered in blood, saying that the police are after him because they think he murdered his girlfriend.
Well, the blood didn't help.
Yeah, what happens? Yeah, what happens from here, though? I think
Here's your first mistake.
What happens from here, though, that I think is so interesting is we start to see, very similar to Grey's Anatomy, because we have to, and Shonda definitely has like a recipe that she uses. We set the rules of the game very clearly on what Olivia Pope does. I have them written down, but did anyone else seem to or catch what the rules of the game are?
First, she interviews the client, and then they vote as a team, but really it's just her. Her vote is the only one that matters. Literally everybody else is like, I don't know. She was like, we're taking him, because she always goes with her gut, and her gut is allegedly always right. We might begin to question that. I don't know. And then she establishes the rules with the client of what they are supposed to do. And the big one is, do not lie. If you lie, she cannot help you. You cannot lie. That's all I got.
Yeah, I think you actually nailed it. First thing is, she tells them their job, which is to stay in her office and let her do her job. Then she learns everything about them. Then she warns them.
I always warn them.
If you lie, all bets are off. What do we think about this guy, the case? Because that was the part where I thought, wow, this is like, it's such a complex human being to have this first case based off of a Republican war veteran who is now on the speaking circuit and has been tabbed as potentially the next great political being for the Republican Party.
The
as a whole.
resume is bonkers here. Like, he's the most decorated Marine since Vietnam. He's won the, I guess, like, people's sexiest man alive. He's a conservative talking head. He does, like, all of these speeches for, like, PACs and for money. They're going through his resume like, good God, like, this is insane.
And then, go for it, Korama.
I think it is a testament to how bonkers the show gets in general that I truly had no recollection of this being in the pilot.
God.
I remember the other scandal that we will get to later that's in the pilot, because I feel that has more impact on the arc of the show as it continues. But I truly had no recollection of this man. I did not remember him. And it was at the last minute that I remember what his alibi was. I was like, I remember this guy.
And it's a testament to the show that Russian ambassador baby kidnapping is a blip, like, for 30 seconds in this episode.
Cold open. That's cold open shit, baby.
That's absolutely insane.
I think it's an interesting, also, again, signal of the times. I think that having this sort of sympathetic soldier character is very 2012, 2011, which would have been when they wrote and shot it. I think in a post 2016 world, it would have not been quite the same. Although I will say Shonda is fairly pro-military in her shows.
Oh, 100%.
Like, if you look at Grey's Anatomy, even today, it's pro soldier, less pro-military than it was in like 05, 06. But yeah, she's always been fairly pro-military.
She's on the board at Lockheed Martin. It just like it was only natural for her to be so.
Talking about like Shonda comparisons though to Grey's Anatomy, the other one that I found interesting is much like Grey's, we're getting a view into the world from somebody's first day, which I think is a really interesting similarity to Grey's.
It is such a great tool to be using, and then also allowing us to use this first in this main case to also see some of the skill sets of the folks that they are working with, right? Like, go for it, Rich.
Oh, I will say one black spot on this, like one bit of information we don't get is why Quinn was chosen for this, really. We get a little bit of like, oh, you're special, here's Harrison at the bar for you. But nothing that she really does, because that's, I mean, arguably one of the A, B, and C plots is this person's first day and why she's supposed to be there. Everyone else seems to be extremely adept at something, and Quinn is just kind of figuring it out. I don't know what did I miss something about why she was like special?
Back.
Okay.
I mean, yes and no. They do not fully explain it. You are right. They're not like, oh, we picked Quinn because of her like sensitivity and ability to commune with clients, which is not why she gets picked. Let me tell you, shit gets crazy with Quinn. But you do have the moment where she's crying in the bathroom and Huck comes in and he was like, Olivia fixes things and you need to be fixed. I don't know what is wrong with you, but everybody here needs to be fixed, and Olivia fixes things. And we do get a sense of that with what's bland British guy's name again? I forgot him.
Steven.
Yeah, I already forgot his name. Steven. We see that with him with Olivia pushing him to live a normal life. She's like, please go get married, be normal, propose to this girl. And we see that he needs fixing in his like commitment phobia. And she is the one who's facilitating that. She is the one who brought rings to the office so that he could pick one. And I think there is a promise that we will see something along those lines with Quinn as the show goes on. And we will discover why exactly.
Since you mentioned it, Korama, I do love that we get like a Bachelor Nation David Lane like presenting of the ring scene in this show too, which is just hilarious. as an E plot goes.
Oh my god!
I gagged when he picked the ring that he picked.
It was awful.
It was the most 2010s ring I've ever seen. It had that gigantic halo. I hate halos. I like I spent a lot of time thinking about engagement rings for somebody who's never been in a long-term relationship. And I know what I like and I know what I don't like, and I did not like that ring.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-mm.
I don't want to skip past it, but Joshua Molina is in this show. And the giddiness that I presented when I saw Joshua Molina on my screen as our local DA, appearing named David Rosen. He seems to always be wearing something Dartmouth, no matter where he is. And it's just like, even though, yeah, Joshua Molina went to Yale, that is a big thing, like, which I found like so funny, is just like, oh yeah, like,
yeah, that guy went to Cal State Northridge.
Oh, that's great. That's what a way to promote your
That's
school
so
by having
funny.
one of your actors.
Well, and what's her face? Meredith Grey also went to Dartmouth.
Oh my god.
That's
Yeah.
Shonda can't stop. She has to be stopped
I'm
promoting her
not going to
mater.
cut you a check when you keep calling me, but I am going to have someone wearing a Dartmouth sweatshirt in every one of my shows.
That's free promotion, baby. They can't buy promotion like that.
That's
yeah,
a
Dartmouth
Shonda
needs
Easter
it.
egg.
So during this, we get to see the team go through trying to solve this case of Sullivan Solly St. James, who is our client in this instance. But during all this, as they're trying to gather evidence, we get to meet Cyrus Bean, a.k.a. played by Jeff Perry, a.k.a. Grey's dad in Grey's Anatomy, which, you know, Shonda cannot be stopped in this instance. And
Booked
we are
and
also
busy.
we also are introduced to our B plot in this instance of there is an intern who is saying that she and the president are having an affair. And she isn't really threatening blackmail, but she isn't really saying what she wants either. Go ahead, Rich.
This is one of the few moments of seeing any Shonda show where I could actually guess the ending. I feel like it was a little too heavy-handed that there was so much information about this person and the president, like almost off the bat. Like, you knew. We'll get into the actual end of the show, but I don't think we're spoiling anything for anyone. But you know, you could immediately tell, like, the president was lying. He had an inappropriate relationship with Olivia. Like, there was just like no way that wasn't the end game here. Like, there is no way that, oh yeah, turns out the president was just telling the truth. And I'm like, that's not TV. That's not something that Shonda would put in a TV show. I don't know. It just seemed to like. Did you guys also like predict the ending for those of you guys who had seen it for the first time?
Max, why don't you tell us?
I don't know if I predicted it in the moment, but like looking back on it, the fact that when Olivia's like, I need to be with the president so I can look him in the eye and know he's not lying. A, bonkers thing to say, but then B, when he strolls in, he's like, Livy. It's like, oh no, that should have been the tell. This guy's like a real
already.
Like, this guy's a sex creep. We should have known that right away. Our hunky Jewish president, played by Tony Goldwyn.
I think he's very
Tony
handsome.
Goldwyn's.
I don't think he's a sex creep. I
you get a hunky
President
Jewish
Fitzgerald Grant.
You get a hunky Jewish actor like Tony Goldwyn. You have to call him Fitzgerald Grant III. Like, no, we could have done so much better for the people.
We also, in this scene that we're introduced. So, from my perspective, Rich, I thought it was a really great plot device of being able to introduce, hey, here are a couple other major characters played by some pretty decent actors, I would not call Tony Goldwyn a household name at this time, but I would say it's a person that you would recognize
if you see Ghost.
Yeah, exactly. If you've seen them on the screen.
I would argue that Tony Goldwyn is still not a household name. I feel like...
Oh, no. By no means. Yeah. But if you are a Scandal fan, like someone like yourself, Korama, you'd be like, oh my God, it's the president. Right?
When I saw Divergent, when I saw the movie Divergent, I was like, Fitz is the dad?
Or if you're crazy for Swayze and you love the movie Ghost.
Also, this is just a clear pattern of I feel like Shonda Rhimes writes white people's like names in a TV show, just names white characters like an old timey like romance novelist. Like Sully St. James, that is so over the top. Fitzgerald Grant the Third, like you have to give someone like both of those are last names as first names, which is so funny to me. Yeah,
and,
that is true.
And Rich, I'll have one counter for you, because with both of those amazing names, we also have the president's wife, whose name is just Melly. And that is, and
well,
that's
Melly. After her love of the Spice Girls.
Yeah, and it's Mellie, which is a bonkers spelling of that name. I'd rather there be a Y at the end of that every single time.
Really? Y is crazy. I think spelling that with a Y is an insane way to spell that. Also,
yeah, Jeff, you're getting into Mormon baby name territory there.
Oh
yeah. Welcome back to Good Names, Bad Names.
Melly, who we don't see a lot of in the pilot, is played by Bellamy Young. She's incredible. I love her. I hope both sides of her pillow are cold forever. She's great. But what I want to say about the names is I knew a guy in college. I won't say his first name, but his last name was Thurston. His last name was Thurston, and his middle name was Weeks. Like there are 4 weeks in a month.
Huh.
That was his middle. So I think that these are perfectly normal white people names.
Sorry, now that I know that Melly's actual first name is Bellamy, I just want to keep calling her Bellamy now.
Real Shonda heads call her Bellamy. That's the Stan ship name.
So during this, let's talk a little bit about the B plot, because I think that one of the important things, and Rich, when I sort of realized, hey, there's something more to this woman is trying to blackmail the president, was when we met my girl, Liza Wheel, from Gilmore Girls, playing the intern. Because
future, she's going to be in How to Get Away with Murder as a series regular, which is also a Shonda show.
So as soon as I saw this actress and we saw this scene, first of all, I think this was really, although we had this kidnapping scene, this was the first time that we saw how ruthless Olivia Pope could be, and where I even in my notes was just like, I'm scared, and I wasn't even the one being threatened by Kerry Washington in this moment. This was the first moment for me where I was just like, holy shit, like Kerry Washington is just such a good actress, and is just such a believable actress that, like, yeah, I'm terrified, and seeing the Amanda Tanner character just basically broken from this woman assaulting her was amazing.
And they film it in a way that you really do get it from the Quinn POV too. Like you are watching it as like a third party in this conversation too, which I think makes it really effective. Jeff, I am sorry to your hometown of Minneapolis, Minnesota, catching a stray though from Olivia Pope in this scene.
Oh yeah, somewhere boring like Minneapolis.
Yeah,
really.
Why don't you move to a small city? Get out of here.
Fuck off,
like
Olivia
DC
Pope.
is not a teeny tiny city. Also, I've lived in DC, and it is tiny. It's minuscule.
From Korama's time as being the president's fixer.
I was 11. It was really tough to fit in after school.
Oh,
it was a lot of work.
The baby fixer.
Yeah. A baby gladiator in a baby suit.
So after this threatening instance with Amanda Tanner, Quinn breaks down, right? She's almost sobbing in a bathroom back at the office because she is questioning if Olivia Pope is really the person that she thinks she is, and if she's actually doing what she thought she'd be doing, helping people. And Guillermo Diaz. Very
Hold
different.
on.
Could you imagine if Guillermo del Toro showed up just for a monologue and then
With
left
his
and was
little
never to be seen.
glasses.
Yeah. And his like adorable accent, like
I mean, that was
100%.
literally an episode of Barry's final season where he just showed up and gave a monologue and then left.
Oh
But
my god. Guillermo Diaz as Huck gives this interesting monologue that Rich and Max, you both spoke to, of the idea of everyone here needs to be fixed. And you need to be fixed as well. I don't feel like this character has earned this monologue yet. I know that he becomes a beloved character in the series, and he is throughout the entire run of the series, and that's great. But like, Huck has said barely 10 words to then say this gigantic monologue sort of has me wishing it was almost any of the other characters that we had met from Olivia's team.
well, you say that, but I think they mentioned that Huck is like ex like FBI intel or something when we first meet him in the loft early on, and I think it sets up that this isn't your like run of the mill techie character from procedurals. Like, this is someone who is tough as nails. Like, he's willing to get a little bit dirty, and it's like, if you think that you know the techie role, you don't. Like, this guy also has like some spitfire to him.
Yeah, he's definitely
From a-
still like the introverted tech guy, though. That's you still can't like kind of really get away from that trope. No matter, it's 2012. We're still hacking into the mainframe here on TV.
Karama, what about you? Like, as someone who's watched this show, what do you think of like almost introducing the true Huck using this monologue?
Oh, that's not the true Huck. Let me tell
Oh,
you.
interesting.
Ooh.
Ooh.
The true Huck, I don't want to spoil it for people who want to delve deep into it, but he's like an iceberg. There's a lot under that surface. And I don't know that Olivia has fixed him. Let me just say that. But
Ooh.
I think that, I don't know, when people do things like that, when people who have been very quiet suddenly have their little speech, I think it's just to hint at the importance of what they're saying. And it's like, if this guy's talking, then you really need to listen. And so I get that as a trope. I get that as a reason. I don't know. I have nothing bad to say about this show and nothing bad to say about this pilot. I think that it works. I think that because Huck is so gentle, like if Harrison tried this speech, or if Steven, that's his name, Steven tried this speech,
Yeah, Steve.
I just feel
So
that
important.
I've seen every
You have
episode of
watched
the
7
show.
seasons
I
of
could
this.
not- if that man walked into my house today, I'd be like, I've never met you before. Who are you? That's today, having rewatched the pilot yesterday. But I think if Harrison or Steven or Abby tried to give her that same sort of pep talk, they're all very abrasive. They're all like extreme. Abby is the worst of the bunch in terms of being abrasive. She was throwing pages on the ground. She's just like, I hate Republicans, which same girl, same. But we're at work.
But we're
Calm
at
down
work.
just for a second, since there's a Republican in the next room who's going to be paying you money. And also this is a 2012 Republican, not a now Republican. But I think that Huck was the only person at OPA that could have given that speech.
So, couple of things that happen after this speech. We find out a little bit more background about our Sully character as the case develops that, hey, Sully actually knew about this guy who was sleeping with his potential fiance, and Sully knew about it, but doesn't really seem to have the reaction or the care that someone who would be, finding out that they're being cheated on. And then David Rosen appears with a warrant, and Sully decides to, go directly with him.
Oh, we
When
just kind of glanced past the most crazy line in this entire show, which is, I believe it was Abby coming in, shouting to everyone, "Oh, Paige is a whore."
Oh my god!
What was that?
this section here, like the points are so hard and fast. You get the Sully prints on the murder weapon. You get Abby shouting that his girlfriend is a whore. You get Olivia having an on national TV phone call with Fitz, making him look into the camera while she watches at home on TV to see if he's lying. And then, while we have two crisis negotiations going on simultaneously, we take a little interlude so that everyone can help plan Steven's big proposal night. Like, someone made the reservation. Olivia's got the rings. Like, everyone did something. Like, Harrison shows up with a suit. Not really, but like, you could believe it happening. We just, in the middle of everything going to shit, have a nice little, like, it's time to plan your romantic French dinner.
You know what, Max? Life keeps going, even in the midst of scandal. I mean, she's trying to fix them.
Ooh, I like that.
She's trying to fix them. No, you cannot make me say anything bad about this show.
We're going to keep trying.
So, one of the things that we glazed over a little bit, I did not mean to, but Sully's alibi of not killing his girlfriend / fiance is confirmed in a negotiation that is wild for only $500 and a pizza with very specific toppings to be able to see closed circuit
deep
TV
dish, baby,
footage. But we find out that Sully is actually a closeted man who was out in front of a club with their partner or the person that they truly loved. This was such an interesting monologue / speech that we get to see. The actor's name is Wes Brown.
/shout.
Yeah, and I actually really like this because it was a turn for the character of seeing him composed at all times to seeing everything, this perfectly crafted image that has been made of being a military man and being, you know, the most Republican man, as he like almost self-describes himself, to see it all crumble because of one flaw or
this part,
you know, one small issue.
This part freaked me the hell out because I'm like, oh, so in your brain, in Republicans' brains, and this is how I can tell, like, she's writing these Republican characters with extreme contempt. It is better for you to be an accused murderer than an out gay man in the military, despite being the most decorated Marine since the 70s. And I mean, it's just like it's extremely telling, and I think she just like shows her cards a little bit there on how much like hatred she has for these people.
Well, what's interesting though is that Fitz is a Republican.
Yeah,
and I saw a TikTok recently that was like, I don't know if Shonda Rhimes is going to see heaven, since she had us black folks tuning in every week to watch a black lady with a Republican married man. Which she, you know, I think she'll see heaven, but it's going to be tough.
Oh my God.
But even in the midst of writing these Republicans with contempt, she has us sympathize and have our main character want this Republican who she got elected. She helped get him elected. So it's just like, does she hate Republicans? Very unclear.
Yeah.
To me.
I mean, it gives like a self-loathing element to it, I think, but I don't know. I mean, we'll get into her altercation at the White House in a second, but my God, I mean, boy, does she. They also don't reveal that he's a Republican in the first episode, do they?
They sort of skirt around it, but like there's hints and clues of like, oh, he's very important. When Cyrus is talking to Olivia, he mentions how important St. James is to the party, right? And to the future of the party. That is one line that's sort of a small little clue of like, oh, and throughout the episode, there's like hints, but there's also like, they're not going to straight up on the nose be like, yeah, I'm a Republican yet, because I think that they needed to reel everyone in to this show and not just play sides and play games.
There is a little hint also when Abby says, like, "Oh, here's a picture of Sully with the president."
No.
Just Abby hates Republicans.
So there is
Abby's a Jill Stein voter.
Very important thing after Sully Sullivan, St. James. I'm only going to use his full name. Goes to prison, refusing to confirm his alibi. Which is that Amanda Tanner has attempted to commit suicide in this instance. And we have this very powerful scene where Olivia Pope realizes that her gut was wrong, or her truthometer has a flaw, and the flaw's name is President Fitzgerald Grant, because he indeed lied to her about having this affair. And the clue is the nickname of Sweet Baby, or, that Amanda Tanner said. And that struck a note with Olivia Pope. What did we think about our scene in the West Wing itself and in the Oval Office itself when we got there and Olivia Pope confronts the president?
I will say something bad about this show. I don't understand the camera setup. Why is it that you can see not the whole Oval Office in the cameras? He's like, look at the cameras. Let's go to the wall where no one can see us. You think they can't kill the president at a wall?
For our new sponsor, SimpliSafe. SimpliSafe covers your entire Oval Office every time.
Oh my god! But it's interesting because they in this Amanda Tanner reveal. When Quinn is supposed to be giving us hey, these are the things that Amanda was saying. Amanda was talking about there's this secret room off of the Oval Office. Just go into the secret room if you're going to have this conversation. But I also think it doesn't allow for us to have this moment where Cyrus walks in on the president and Olivia Pope.
Also, that's another set, Jeff. That's expensive. Secret rooms don't come cheap.
Karama is trying to save Disney so much money right now. That's what this is all about.
Oh my god, the death stare that if you would like to see Karama try to kill Rich with just a stare, then go onto our YouTube and we'll make sure to timestamp.
I have an Olivia Pope sense that Karama might be mad at me.
No, that was me trying to kill Bob Iger with a stare. He's not here right now, but I feel like he felt that just a little.
Bob,
we're communicating with the orcas to sink his boat.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
All right, so President Sleazeball's made a move, and now we move ahead to Chez Henry, DC's hottest French restaurant.
So at DC's hottest French restaurant, we do get this our D plot or E plot, as you mentioned it, Rich, of Abby Whelan goes to help Steph, or was it Abby or Olivia Pope? This is the scene where I was just
we all kind of have a hand in this.
Steven's here, and he's having cold feet about proposing because he just sort of sucks. This is one of those scenes where I was just do we need to see?
Abby's clearly not going to help him propose to this woman because she is clearly in love with him.
They really. That was pretty ham-fisted.
But this scene, it's not about the Steven proposal. It's about we get this moment where when Olivia's left alone in the coat room, we see her break the rule that Huck gave to Quinn earlier, which is we see her cry, and we've seen her, her gut be wrong and how she, processed the Fitz story. And I think that this is the moment in the show where it's although Olivia Pope is the fixer, the one who needs fixing is Olivia Pope. That.
God damn it.
No, but it is. It's the moment where all of her rules come full circle. It's she is the commander of this army. She is in charge. She is the focal point. But at the end of the day, despite all of her rules, she kind of breaks them at times too, and is a more complicated, flawed person than we've seen in the first 40 minutes of the episode.
So,
And
with
it also leads us
okay.
well into when she goes to get the name of the man so that she can confirm Sully St. James's alibi. She goes to jail and she talks to him and she has that conversation where she's like, I need your alibi and I need to release you. And it's not just so that you don't get pinned with murder. It is because you have been living a lie for too long and you deserve better than that. And is she talking to Sully or is she talking to herself?
Oh my god. It's like how they say therapists are normally the people who need the most therapy anyways. I feel like that's a little bit what this person is trying to be.
So Rich had to go and take care of a scandal of his own, but let's talk about one of our upcoming final scenes that we have in this instance, and that is after Olivia has this emotional levee break of dealing with the idea of her forbidden love with the president and seeing Stephen go off and be able to live a normal life, hopefully. She has to go back to Sullivan St. James and try to get him to be able to acquit himself of murder in this instance at the behest of his fear of being outed as a gay man within, even though and regardless of him being the great white hope of the Republican Party. What did we think of this scene, of this just two actors going back and forth at it almost?
I think that this is it's like the moment where like the armor starts to break down, like the gladiator in the suit is it's a little more humanized, and I think it's the side that we need to see. It's like, yeah, Olivia can have her team do all of this like tracking and data and like, bribery, but like the thing that gets, Sully to come clean and to give this presser where he, outs himself and, starts to speak his truth is like Olivia showing compassion and showing a side of humanity that we haven't seen before. And I think it's the scene where we see Olivia doing her thing through Olivia's eyes and not through Quinn's eyes. So it's like we've spent 40 minutes like watching it from Quinn's POV, and now it's like we're in there with Olivia. And I think this is the moment where like the show really switches to like we're going to be driven home via Olivia Pope. Like we get the real POV here.
Korama, what did you think about this scene? Is sort of like, it almost seemed like the culmination of the entire episode led up to this big speech.
Absolutely. I feel like, every coin has two sides, and this is the sort of opposite side of that baby hostage negotiation scene where she is getting what she wants from her client or what she wants for her client, which is to get him acquitted. But she's really appealing to him emotionally, not through intimidation, not through like bluster and sort of bravado. Like Max just said, the sort of armor of being a gladiator is kind of being peeled back. Gladiator, more like sadiator. I hate myself for saying that, but I had
Oh my God.
to. And I think what's really interesting is there's this sort of presentation prior to this as Olivia Pope, so far in the episode, being a person who is willing to get what she needs to get to make scandals disappear at any point, like at any cost. She's going to put people on the no-fly list. She's going to intimidate White House interns. And when it came time for this alibi video and her needing to get this man off of his charges, they were like, oh, can we just leak the video? And she said, no, we cannot do that. If he's our client, we have to do what he wants. And there's a lot of compassion in that, I think, too, where she's like, I'm not going to out you. I need you to see that this is the best thing for you. And in that, she is not just fixing the situation, she is fixing Sully.
Well, Sully is willing to admit who this man is, the name, to be able to confirm his alibi.
Which was
we get
another
this.
fun little white name. I don't remember what it was, but
Yeah, I don't have it either.
It was
but
like
we do.
John Albid or something. It was
Yeah.
a real white guy name.
It was definitely some Shonda's friend from Dartmouth. It was 100% just like, I'm gonna just throw in this name, so like John is like super pumped about it when he's watching.
Or he's watching it like, what the hell, Shonda?
Sitting there with his like wife and kids being like, I swear, I had no idea. We get this really wild press conference scene where Sully's in full military garb, like surrounded by fellow military members, proudly announcing that he is a gay man. But then I think that the way this pilot ends is super interesting. Quinn sort of has this question of, wait, like, there's still a murder that hasn't been solved. And what I love is that they're just like, yeah, that's not our job. Like, so what? The police will hopefully figure it out. Like, they've got plenty of work that they can do, and we'll provide them evidence. But then we find out that Amanda Turner is now Olivia Pope's newest client as she looks to represent her and almost save her reputation from the president themselves. What did we think of this ending scene and how bonkers it was?
I love that for an episode that has so many scenes where it's like, this is the rules of the game, like these are the rules of the world. We get one more at the very end, which is, this is not the show. Like, this isn't that show. This isn't the solving a murder show. Like, nope, you're not going to get that here. Like, if you're watching at home, or if this is like, you're making a decision whether to pick up this pilot, in case you're wondering who the murderer is, we're not going to tell you. We don't care.
yeah, if you want a Thursday night murder solving show, go turn on NBC. This is ABC. We're not doing that here. Go talk to Mariska Hargitay.
Go and watch Bones. Go and watch Bones with Emily Deschanel in it and David Boreanaz. They would be happy to have you. Well,
David
that is our
Boreanaz
pilot, you guys.
has been steadily employed since 1997. Can I just say that David Boreanaz has not had a job between 1997 and right now.
We love that for David. David's
Crazy.
constantly working on that grind.
Always.
Were there any things that either of you loved about this pilot that maybe we did not discuss today that you want to shine a light on?
I love the back and forth relationship between Olivia and Cyrus Bean, who is the not press secretary. What is it? Chief of staff
Yes.
for Fitz, and how they sort of like have this fun ping pongy thing. Like when we first see him, he's like, oh, he needs to see you. Like he needs your help, or he didn't say he needs to see you. He said he needs your help. And she was like, no. And he was like, no, hello, how are you? Whatever. And then the next time when she shows up, she's like, hello, how are you? And he's like, great, thank you. Love that. Like, I just love their freaking frack situation going on, because I feel like we don't get a lot of that, funnily enough, with the other people that work at OPA. She doesn't really have a sort of buddy-buddy rapport with them. Her coworkers are her minions. And Cyrus Bean is sort of the first person we see that is, in a way, her equal.
Max, what about you? What were some things that you loved about this
I
pilot?
like the high-low switching in the methods that the team uses to gain intelligence in the case. It's like, we have scenes where Huck does computer hacking. We have scenes where people are taking crime scene photos. But we also have Steven go to see a coroner who he used to, like, bang in the freezer, and we also bribe a security guard with pizza and a small amount of cash. It's like we see them at like the very best of their fields, but also doing just the cheapest ways to possibly like get the job done.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Leslie Grossman, who is on this episode for like maybe 2 minutes, and I absolutely adore her in this episode as the coroner. I will also say, like, even though we only get bits and pieces of Joshua Malina and Tony Goldwyn and Bellamy Young and their characters in this, you don't have those actors in this show unless they're going to be nailing the scenes that they're in. And like the chemistry between Tony Goldwyn and Kerry Washington in that Oval Office scene was bananas. Like, I only know Jeff Perry from Grey's Anatomy prior to watching this. And being able to see Jeff Perry not play the terrible father to Grey, but instead play this, like, respectable man who has his shit together was a treat. Like, I really enjoyed being able to see him have some range as an actor. And I think that, like, that's one of the beauties of Shonda Rhimes is everybody eats, right? If you're on a show with Shonda Rhimes and she has written it and she wrote this pilot, everybody's going to get something to eat. And, like, that was just such a treat. While there were things we loved, what were some wait a minute moments about this pilot that maybe stuck out to you? Because I do have some, but I want to let others eat at this table before I do.
I've already briefly touched on two of them, which is the extremely quiet Ukrainian baby and the security holes in the White House security cameras. I think that's it that I can think of right now that were just my, like, wait a minute moments. I feel that I've been indoctrinated. I have seen all 7 seasons of this show, and it was very much a cultural phenomenon, and I want to talk about that a little bit after we talk about our wait a minute moments, if that's 100%. Okay. But I'm along for the ride with Scandal. I'm like, sure, yeah, that would happen. Mm-hmm.
Max, what
she
about
would knock on David Rosen's door in the middle of the night. That makes sense.
Yeah, Max, as someone who has not been indoctrinated into the cult of Scandal, what were some of your wait a minute moments?
I mean, I physically looked at the TV and said, wait a minute, a whole lot, but I don't think there were specific moments. I don't know, that they didn't end it with Fix You by Coldplay. This show is insane. Like I said before, we are like 4 minutes in, and we've had the insane Quinn Harrison back and forth in the bar. We've had the Ukrainian mob negotiation. We've had a baby get returned. We've had a man show up with blood. There's a presidential sex scandal. Like, there's so much happening that I don't think you have time to process, like, what your WTFs are. It's just, like, it keeps going. And I think that if you get onto that train and you could say, like, all right, keep hitting me, like, this show will be for you.
So
absolutely. It asks you to buy in very early on. And I think that that's actually really great. I was recently told that when you are writing a pilot, you should let them know what party you're inviting them to. And I feel like we very quickly know what party we're being invited to. And if you want to leave, you got to go. But if this is the party for you, you are in for a fucking ride.
All right, so I have 2 very minor quips or wait a minute moments for me. One is Amanda Turner's dog, or Tanner's dog, is named Thomas Jefferson, or TJ for short. Could we name him any other president, please? Because Thomas Jefferson has a murky background that I don't think should be celebrated.
What do you call the dog? Like, do you say, like, come here, Thomas, Tommy, TJ? Like, what's, like, the dog name?
She called him TJ.
Yeah, she was calling him TJ after Thomas Jefferson because he's very presidential. Was the exact line.
I feel like it would be in poor taste to name him JFK, though. You know, I feel like that's the other, like, very presidential dog name.
But aren't you also supposed to have, like, 2-syllable names for dogs? It's like a thing when you're training them, you want to have, like, a certain number of syllables. That's how they respond to. And JFK. TJ works.
Oh.
Could we do Kennedy? Could Kennedy be one? Or Teddy would be also a really good one for Theodore Roosevelt. Like, there's some other names that are options out there. I just want to put that out there. I like Teddy. Teddy's a great
Teddy.
I know a man whose name is Thomas Jefferson. And, like, his name is Thomas Jefferson, last name. And people call him Jefferson.
Bonkers.
Or TJ. So
that's
I believe that this woman named her dog Thomas Jefferson because I know somebody who named their child Thomas Jefferson.
That's insane. That's absolutely bonkers. I would like to challenge our audience. Please put in the comments below, what is a worst presidential dog name? I will take any and all. Andrew Jefferson might be a really good one as well. or excuse me,
Andrew
Andrew
Jackson?
Jackson. There we go.
Mhm.
Andrew
Or
Jackson
Andrew
might
Johnson.
be a really good one. Yeah, exactly. The other wait a minute moment is, how did they pay for the ring? I have so many questions about just how there were all those rings. Does that come out of Steven's salary? Was he just given that ring for free? Because supposedly they don't make that much money. So, like, how does he afford that ring? Is it on a payment
Olivia
plan?
makes that much money.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Jeff, they
so-
explained it. Olivia knows a guy.
She knows
So
that.
I do want to talk a little bit about the Shonda of it all, but we do have an in-flight question that I want to discuss really quickly. Our in-flight question came from Instagram, and it was, as we meet Olivia Pope's associates, it almost seems like a meet the team montage. What heist movie character do you want to see this team add? Max, knowing that these scenes are some of your favorite scenes, what traditional heist movie character do you want to see this team add?
Oh, we need an explosives guy. Yeah, we need Don Cheadle from Ocean's 11 here. We need him blowing stuff up.
All right, Karama, what about you?
I feel like we need the person who's kind of like, fine, this one last job, who's like a little bit older
Oh,
and
yeah.
grizzled.
Oh, that'd be so great. I would
Yeah.
love the I'm too old for this shit type of guy.
Exactly.
Or
Yeah.
like, this
Yeah.
is my last one, and then I'm going to retire with my wife and move to Bermuda.
Yeah,
Like,
instead of a
that-
pilot
100%.
where it's the first day, we need the pilot where it's someone's last day at Olivia Pope.
Before
Associates.
retirement, yeah.
I will say I want the disguise guy. I want the guy who's like almost like the chameleon. Like he's like in the background putting on prosthetic noses, being like, sure, I can get into the White House, no problem. Like,
Yeah, Dana Carvey. You want
yeah,
Dana
exactly.
Carvey.
I want Masters of Disguise, Dana Carvey in Scandal. Shonda Rhimes, give me a call. I have an idea. I have
Oh
my
my
write-up.
god! Yeah, can we also just discuss that character's name was Pistachio Disguisey?
Can we discuss that they shot the turtle scene on 9/11? And they had
It's
a moment of silence in full turtle makeup?
It is the
Never
single best.
forget.
It is
Never
the
forget
single
that scene was-
best piece of trivia on all of IMDb.
Oh my god. Well, thank you so much for that in-flight question. We'll talk a little bit more about how to submit those later. But Karama, let's talk a little bit about the Shonda of it all, the cultural phenomenon of what Scandal was. As someone who was integrated, like, you said you were indoctrinated into this phenomenon, the zeitgeist. Like, tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, this is my cue to listen.
I just have a funny personal anecdote first. So when I was 22, so this would have been like the second year that Scandal was on, I was out of college. I was living on my own, cool kid. I still had cable, hadn't cut the cord yet. And I had DVR because I wasn't always going to be home on Thursday nights to watch it. And I didn't want to wait for Hulu. I wanted to come home on Thursday at like 10 p.m. and be able to go like through the commercials. I was like, this is my show. And I get home on a Thursday night, ready to watch my DVR'd Scandal. And I go to click it, and it's 9 minutes long. And I was like, the fuck? Why is it 9 minutes long? And my DVR apparently like malfunctioned. So I called Time Warner Cable, and I was like, what the fuck happened? And they said, oh, there was a glitch in our system. We're so sorry if it affected any of your like viewing time. And I was like, no, you don't understand what you've done. And I made them reimburse me for a month of DVR because I was like, you made me miss Scandal. That cannot stand. I have to go to my mom's house and watch it now. I have gas money involved. Like, there's too much. So I took Scandal very seriously.
That's
like,
amazing.
I'm yelling at people. No, I wasn't yelling. I was just emphatically telling them that they needed to give me my money back.
You went full Korama Danquah Associates on them.
I did. I was like, you better fix it. So one of the really big things with Scandal two really big things with Scandal were group watching, where people would get together and watch Scandal together on Thursdays in a way that I don't really have another show that I can think of people doing that with prior to it. I think Game of Thrones was starting to be in that vein. And then the other thing is live tweeting. I think this is the show that really made live tweeting a phenomenon. And it like, I think if it wasn't the first show, it was one of the first shows where when you did a Twitter hashtag, like hashtag scandal, it had its own little
Yeah, it had its own
emoji that would
emblem.
come
Yeah.
up. Yeah. And I remember the reason I found out about Beyonce's self-titled album, the one that she dropped with no warning, was because I was watching Scandal and watching the live tweets, because Scandal was on at 9 p.m. Pacific, which is midnight Eastern when she dropped the album. Everybody's like, oh my God, Beyonce. Oh my God, Beyonce. I was like, is Beyonce on Scandal?
That's amazing. I
And,
mean, that is wild. I would kill to see Beyonce on the show. That would be, please, that would be such a great cameo.
I'm going to say something that could get me killed, but Beyonce is a bad actor. Beyonce is not a good actor. She's good at so many things. She is an incredible dancer, an incredible singer, an incredible performer on stage. She's a bad actor.
I will say, in response to that, because I think it deserves a response, there's a reason that two people were nominated for Oscars for Dreamgirls, and neither of them was Beyonce. And I thought it was actually very appropriate, the character Beyonce played in that movie. With that being said, let's talk a little bit about the legacy of the show, because outside of the pop culture impact this show had, there were some other impacts that it had that were pretty amazing. So 7 seasons, 124 episodes. Season 3 was its highest ranked episode. It was ranked number 16 of all TV shows, all programs that were out there, which is wild. Season 3, though, was not its highest viewed season. That was season 4, which had 12.66 million viewers per episode, which in 2012, that was what, 2016? That is a wild amount of viewers for any TV network TV show as a whole.
Well, I think that speaks to like kind of like the grassroots thing of what Karamo was discussing, where it's like you live tweeted it. There was an element to wanting to watch it alongside the cast. Like if I watch it on Thursday night, I'm also going to get Kerry Washington's input in the moment, reacting as I'm reacting. Whereas if I watch it on like Friday afternoon, or if I watch it in the days to come, I don't get that same element. And I think that this show like just creates actual fandom in such a real way.
Yeah,
absolutely. They parodied it on Dear White People, where a character was going to have her, like, I think it was her white like person that she was seeing, come and watch Defamation, or I think it was what it was called with them. Yeah, Defamation. And they would all get together as like a community of Black students at this primarily white institution and watch Defamation.
That's
and
amazing.
That was like every week they would come together to do that, and all the different sort of like smaller groups of Black people. So it was like the sort of bougie, like Jack and Jill Black people, and then like the Africans would come together with the people that lived in like the Black dorm. They would all be there and watch this show together. That was like their moment of togetherness every week.
So a couple of other just notes. Max talked a little bit about the actresses that were up for this role of Olivia Pope, which is absolutely bonkers. Like I can't even express the idea that they had those 3 people, and probably looking at headshots or going after test filming and being like, okay, who do we get to pick? Not that any of them are doing poorly right now. I would say that they all had their own film or hit things that they did after the show was cast. I
also heard that Jill Scott was a serious contender for the role of Olivia Pope.
It's just like a who's who. It's the most intense casting room I can think of.
So, and Shonda said that the people that they had in mind were all so different that it really got down to who Olivia Pope was going to depend on who they cast. So this role is Kerry Washington's role. Now, I'm not saying Kerry Washington is like this, though she is very politically active. And that's one of the reasons that she got the role over other people. She was just so fired up talking about politics and talking about Washington.
That's amazing.
And I think that I do want to live in the world where Gabrielle Union got this role, though. I love Gabrielle Union.
I watched a Gabrielle Union movie last night called Perfect Pair that was wild. I'll talk about that after filming, but we can we'll talk about that a little bit.
And if
later.
anyone has any thoughts on
you-
Bring It On, just let us know. Like, just let us know your thoughts on Bring It On.
If you guys ever do Being Mary Jane, please have me on.
100%.
Because I love Gabrielle Union, and I think that show does not get enough love.
So another person who doesn't get enough love for this show is Chad Fisher. So that might be a name that, like, Korama's giving me a look like, who the fuck is Chad Fisher? Chad Fisher is the person who composed all of the music for this show, every single season. And I loved the composition for the show. Like, yes, it is not our Grey's Anatomy. Let's take a pop song and turn it into an acoustic song that we've grown used to.
Minor key pop songs.
But we'll talk a little bit about Chad Fisher in a little bit, but the show was not only popular in the US. There were a ton of different countries that it was shown in and broadcast in, including Australia, Bermuda, Japan, the UK, New Zealand, South Africa, Jamaica, and a lot more. It also had an exclusive deal with BET where it was syndicated. The same episodes were shown 8 days after they premiered on ABC in a first of its kind syndication, which is absolutely nuts. Rich would be interested to hear this if he was here, but there are only 2 seasons of this show on DVD, and they're only the last 2 seasons of it, which I found it's so wild and so interesting, but only the last 2 were published worldwide on DVD. The rest of them were regionally produced, which is super duper interesting.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's bonkers banana pants.
I like the phrase regionally produced DVDs. Like, you go to your local DVD guy and he's making prints of them for you.
So let's talk a little bit about awards. Surprisingly, over 7 seasons, this show was only nominated for 52 awards and won 25 of them. And the reason why I say surprising is because just based off of how big of a show this was when it was on, you would expect a little bit more. This is not just your average 30-minute comedy where it's like, oh yeah, there's people here and they're acting. But we also have to consider what Scandal was against. And there was a lot of heavy-hitting dramas at the time, or similar category winners that would be approached. So the reason why I think Chad Fisher is so important, Chad Fisher, 6 years in a row, sweeped the BMI TV Music Award for Best Composition. So, like, absolutely we just talked about it. There are a lot of great TV shows at this time, and Chad Fisher was just like, give me your fucking lunch. I'm going to win no matter what. They also won an AFI award for Television Program of the Year. The only Emmys this show won as primetime Emmys were both for guest actor or actress appearances, which is absolutely bonkers.
Who won?
I do not have that, Korama.
Oh, that's fine. I'll find it. I'm curious, not for the show, just for me.
They also won a Peabody Award for Excellence in Television. And as we've been talking about, this show just left a cultural impact on the world. Like, to have not only Grey's Anatomy, but also Scandal, and then add How to Get Away with Murder on top of that, like, Shonda absolutely staked her claim and then got the bag from Netflix because of it. And you have to think Scandal was a big part of that bag.
Yeah, this universe is kind of a blind spot for me in a lot of ways, but I will always remember there being, like, Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder, like, crossover episodes. Like, I feel like this is a show that still made appointment TV matter, that it was just like, we're gonna have these, like, worlds collide, and we're gonna like really suck you in with, like, live tweet-alongs and watch parties. And I don't know. I think that shows like this are the argument against dropping everything at once, because it's like, with Scandal, it's like, no, the allure is that you get to talk about it and you get to experience it and you're all on the same page and watching the same thing at the same time. And like, that's a phenomenon that's like kind of going away. And like, just talking about the show, it's like, oh no, like, no, that's like good thing. Like appointment TV is a good thing.
I am a huge proponent of appointment TV. I think that HBO is killing the game on that because people are like, oh, no, we want everybody to watch everything all at once. Binge, binge, binge. And HBO is like, no. You get one episode of House of the Dragon, and then you can talk about it.
And then you can wait a couple of years until you get the next episode.
Although House of the Dragon is still currently filming even through the strike, which is interesting.
That's
it's gross. Margaret Thatcher's fault. It's not like their fault.
Yeah. So just a couple of things. Korama, to answer your question, the guest actors that won Primetime Emmys were Dan Bucatinsky as well as Joe Morton.
Morton, I'm like, yes, absolutely. Yeah. I looked it up and I was like, oh, Joe Morton deserved an Emmy. Yes, absolutely.
And then just also a mention that Viola Davis also got nominated for a crossover episode that we were discussing, but did not win, which...
That's okay.
Fuck off, Emmys. I know
she's got an EGOT. She's fine, man. She's got an EGOT.
I know she's okay, but she deserves everything. With that being said, what?
She got an honorary degree from my college when I was a junior, and she came to the small degree conferring ceremony for the theater department. And I worked for the theater department. So I was the person that was handing out pamphlets to people. And she came late. So it was just me and my coworker and her in the lobby of this theater. And so she came up and she was like, oh, can I go inside? And I was like, yes.
You can do whatever you want.
I was like Troy in that episode of Community where he meets LeVar Burton. I was just kind of staring at her. And I was like, you can go upstairs. And she was like, okay, thank you. And then she starts to walk away and I was like, can I get a picture with you? And she was like, oh, I look really sweaty and gross. And I said, no, you look beautiful. And it wasn't me trying to convince her to take a picture with me. I was just like, how could she think that she looks bad?
You look great. That's amazing. And so as far as Legacy, we're all done. Now, Rich, from Beyond, what is Rich's game of the week?
All right. So for our shortened game of the week for Scandal, I couldn't think of anything more clever than other scandals. So I would love to ask you guys a couple trivia questions. I would love you to see if you could figure out what country this political scandal happened in. Jeff, this first one can be for you. The president died in office after having a heart attack while having sex with a sex worker on his own presidential desk. Was it Italy, France, or Argentina?
Ooh, I am going to give a shout out to Italy in this instance.
You know what? That is precisely why I put Italy in as one of the answers, because it is, of course it would happen there. But no, this one is France.
I knew it was France. I felt it.
Do you really?
That's some French shit. Yeah.
On his own presidential desk.
That's amazing.
I didn't know, I was like, oh yes, I'm familiar with this scandal. But French people, God bless them, they're very free about sex in a way that America is not.
Yeah,
and that sounds French to me.
Well,
it is
that's
extremely
also
French.
That also brings up the question of if he did not die, would he still have been president? Would people have been like, you know what? Have a pass. We've all had those moments on our office desk.
This is in the early 1800s, so there was very plausible that no one would ever know about this. And
100%.
The poor woman that he was with, they had to cut her hair because she died, or the guy during the heart attack had a death grip on her hair. They had to cut her hair out of his fist because he was dying right there, and escort her out the back door. I know.
That is absolutely bonkers.
And you know what the French people probably said? The French people probably said, well, at least he's not the king. We have democracy.
We're the first to do it. All right. Korama, this is a real weird one. This ruler was killed after leading through what is known right now as the disaster year in 1672, and was not only killed by the opposition party, but also had his liver ritualistically eaten. What country was this?
The Netherlands.
Oh my God. Yes.
Wow.
What?
That's amazing.
What? How did you know that?
I think cannibalism is fascinating. Also, I happen to know that because of a TikTok I saw by some Dutch people who were like, "Oh my God, come to the Netherlands. We have so much cool stuff." And then one of the fun facts they had was that they ate their own prime minister. So then I went down a rabbit hole and I was like, "What?"
So, fun fact for our audience, Army Hammer was actually texting Korama in his DMs. It's a big misnomer that it was someone else. It was actually Korama, the mastermind behind it all, awakening her interest in cannibalism.
No.
We're not going to rest until we take down every white cannibal in Hollywood. All right, I have
my picket sign.
Oh my God.
Oh God, eat the rich, literally. All right, the very last one I have for you, because there's surprisingly few that I was able to find through Reddit and Wikipedia enough. All right, this can be for both of you. A parliamentary leader tried to make a point of how bad the drug problem was in this country by buying a bag of cocaine, displaying it for everyone, and then immediately getting in trouble with the police for it, ruining their entire political career that spanned decades. Was this Switzerland, the Philippines, Chile, or Portugal?
Korama, what do you think? Because I have an answer in mind, but I want to make sure that I hear you out for your thought process.
So it was Switzerland, the Philippines, Chile, or Portugal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know that Portugal used to have a really bad drug problem.
Oh, yeah.
But they decriminalized all of their drugs.
Oh, that's smart.
And have since seen a decrease in drug issues. So I feel like it might not be Portugal because of that. It doesn't feel like Switzerland. It just doesn't feel like a Swiss thing to happen. It just doesn't.
Doesn't feel like a Swiss thing to happen.
It doesn't feel like a Swiss thing to happen.
No, it doesn't.
Just culturally, the way that German and French speaking people behave, the Germans would not, and the French, that's not their thing. The prostitute on the desk, that's French. The cocaine in Parliament, I don't know.
I'm sort of leaning towards the Philippines though, because just the little bit I know about the Philippine government, and Manny Pacquiao, I believe, is part of the Philippine government right now at post boxing career and all that, and had a big platform of
he was the mayor of Manila, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I think that there might be something there, but Rich or Korama first. what are you thinking? Is put in an answer, and I'll put in an answer.
I'm torn. I feel like, you know what? I'm going to reverse psychology myself. And because it feels so out of character for the Swiss, I'm going to say it's the Swiss.
And I will say I believe it was the Philippines.
Korama,
which one was it, Rich?
That was beautiful logic on that one. It was Switzerland.
Yes!
Yeah. They, and as you probably all remember, George H.W. Bush did the exact same thing with a vial of crack outside the White House, where the FBI actually lured a drug dealer toward the White House to sell them crack and then arrested them.
But this has been a very informative Rich's game of the week. So thank you for that, Rich. We are coming towards the end of our flight, and I have 2 questions for each of you. One, based off of the pilot and the pilot alone, would you continue watching this show? And 2, do you think that a version of this show should exist today, or potentially if they said, hey, we're going to make a Scandal reboot based off of our current political climate, would you want that to exist today? Korama, as our tried and true Scandal fan, I'm going to ask you, returning to the pilot, based off of those questions, what are your thoughts?
Already started watching episode 2. As soon as episode 1 was over, I was like, oh God, I forgot so much. I got to get back in there. What's going on? But based on the pilot, I think truly if I watched that pilot for the first time today, I 100% would keep watching it. I would binge the shit out of it because it's available for me to binge. And, but if I had to wait a week, oh my God, I would be thrilled. I would be so excited. I think that the anticipation has been lost. There's no anticipation anymore. It's just instant gratification. I sound like, get off my lawn. But truly, I think that there's an art to building anticipation and bringing an audience back week after week. Now that I'm off my soapbox, do I think a version of this should exist, could exist, would exist today? I think would, yes, could, should, definitely not. I think that the political landscape has changed so much in the past decade plus since this show aired. And I just think that it's not fun anymore to think of all of the things that are going on behind the scenes that could be scandalous. And it doesn't feel like high drama fantasy, political fantasy. It definitely feels like reality. Our president has been, indicted. He might go to jail. Our former president. Thank God he's not currently the president. And, we've also lived through this horrible pandemic that was made worse by poor governance, both on a federal and a local level. I just think that I don't want to watch that show. I don't want to watch people doing dirty dealing behind the scenes and Olivia Pope's pushing people around like pawns, especially because I do think, even though they say that they're gladiators in suits and that they're like doing good things and making good changes, really are they? It's an important question, because at the end of the day, they're like, our job is to get him off. We don't care about who did the murder, which I love. I love that they set that expectation. But like at the end of the day, are they trying to fundamentally make positive change? And I don't think that Olivia Pope always is.
Max, what about you?
This is an exhausting pilot, and I love it. It is a show that just bombards you with not only the information needed for it to be a pilot, but it bombards you with storylines and drama and twists and turns. And it's a captivating 40 some odd minutes. Yes, I think that this is an effective episode in making me want to watch more. I am a sucker for primetime soaps. I feel like that's a genre that every time we do on this show, I come in kind of like on the fence. Am I going to be into it? Then I'm like, oh nope, I get everything. I understand. I love this. As the second question, I agree with you a lot, Korama. I think that what makes this show captivating is that it feels a world away, and it feels like you're an outsider to it all. And I think that it's like when every day is a new scandal, and when every day is, would I be sympathetic for a gun nut conservative super PAC guy now? Like probably not. But like in the context of the show, I could want to see what happens with Sully St. James. I would rather just let it be in its time and enjoy it as this little 2012 period piece than to try and grasp at straws to make it work with today's world.
Yeah, I think that we've seen a little too much about how the sausage gets made, and we're like, oh no more sausage, please. I don't want to watch sausage. Jeff, what about you?
Korama, thank you for asking. I think for myself, watching this pilot, at the beginning, if you ask me, I was like, holy shit, this is moving really quickly. We are expecting a lot of the audience. And sometimes when I'm sitting down watching TV, I just want to be a dum-dum and, fed all of my dum-dum things and told everything and shown everything, prestige TV sometimes is exhausting for me. And I'm just like,
yes.
I just want to sit here and be an idiot for like 43 minutes. But then as the show goes on and as I see some of the actors, I'm like, oh, fuck, I really like Joshua Molina. Like, I'm a big fan of him. Oh, there's Bellamy. Like, fuck, like, love her to pieces. And then Kerry Washington's just there. I'm like, oh no, like, and then they start getting me with like the plot lines, and I'm like, oh god, like this is starting to piece, and the stone is rolling quicker down the hill to eventually when, as soon as Kerry Washington's character of Olivia Pope says that Amanda Tanner is their newest client, I was fully bought in, and I am here to report I am 4 episodes deep, and I'm going to watch Scandal right after we are done recording this.
Jeff, you talking about needing dumb content kind of makes me think of like the paradox that is Scandal, which is that you are required to be on your phone to live tweet it in the moment, but if you're on your phone, you're also going to miss so much of Scandal.
This is not a laundry folding show for those who are listening. You have to fully pay attention to the show because they are talking so damn quickly that I had to rewind the show at certain moments to be like, wait, what the fuck did they just say? So like, thank God I'm not watching it live.
Not to be like a nerd about TV structure, but I feel like the reason that an act out is so important is like the way that we structured TV originally is so that you have the most important, biggest thing happen right before a commercial break, which is an opportunity for you to talk to your family about it or to live tweet about it. And now we have these act outs, but then the next act just starts. It just keeps going. And I have Hulu with ads because as a commercial actor, I do love me some ads. It's research. And also, I think that ads are like kind of cute little short films and fun little sketches a lot of the time.
And it's also
good ones.
In Korama, in all honesty, it's also very fun to be able to see your face when I get a WhatsApp ad.
I was going to say, I see a lot of Korama while preparing to do the show.
I see Korama no less than 10 times a week, and it's not via FaceTime. It is on my TV screen, which at one time is sort of concerning, but also at the same time, I'm like fist pumping, like, yeah, WhatsApp, let's go. Please, let's pay that money to the friends.
Get that Zuckerberg money.
Let's go.
So I watched this with ads. I've always watched it with ads. And when I was watching it by myself, when I was in my early 20s and I lived alone, I wowould fast forward through the ads because I'm not talking to anybody. But watching this with my friend last night, I was actually really grateful for the opportunity to have these ad breaks. And I had seen it before he hadn't. So he would ask me questions sometimes and we would talk about what had just happened. We were like, man, that baby was so quiet. I just think that a traditional TV structure was built for people to communally watch things and to be able to discuss things. I think that we're losing that. And there's so much content that people are like, oh, have you ever seen this show? It's like, no. Is it new? It's like, no, there's 8 seasons of it. And we're losing that togetherness. But also there used to be fewer channels.
So speaking to if I believe this show should be remade or any version of this, should we see Scandal, just Congress version or like something like that? 2010 through 2016 was an interesting time for television because there was this almost mystery around politics that we were super interested in learning more about. Like, I think about shows like House of Cards, which just like blew up, right? Like that show became appointment TV and one of the first binge TV shows that we really just watched at that time. In addition, I think like there was just a lot of politics TV because people were interested in it, but you know, you can't be like, here's the real side of politics, let's make it so it's consumable. People want a break, man. People want to join me in the dumb table and just like watch stuff that's like, now we're super interested about rich people. So, you know, go and watch Succession or the newest season of White Lotus. And let's leave politics to, you know, C-SPAN. And I think the political stories we're getting now are wild enough where we don't need to watch the dramatized version of them. But I am sure there's going to be some network that says, what if we did it? And they're going to do it, and I'm going to get upset. And yeah, that's the summarization of that.
The only way that I think that you could do a scandal-like show that is politically oriented right now is if it were like an ambassador in
Ooh,
a
fun.
different country. And I think it could be like a skin situation because ambassador like terms are like 2 years or 3 years or something. So you could have like different ambassadors in some other country trying to be like a fish out of water in this new country and figuring out the political system there. And it's like,
Or
no, you have to bribe people here. That's how we do things.
make it extremely local government. Like I am talking about like a town of only 3,000 people, and it's
Like
just
a Parks and Rec.
Yeah, like a Parks and Rec. It's a very dramatic Parks and Rec.
I'm over here laughing at the idea of a pilot season at C-SPAN.
Oh my god. Well, our plane has come to a land. But before we leave, I wanted to make sure that people know where to find y'all. So, Korama, one, thank you for joining us again. We'll make sure by the 5th time you join us, we're going to get you one of those SNL jackets that you can wear around proudly.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Is there anything that you would like to... where can people find you other than their WhatsApp commercials?
I'm at Korama Drama on all platforms. And as you mentioned earlier, I am currently on strike for both of the unions that I'm in, the WGA and SAG-AFTRA. I know a lot of people think that actors are super rich, and there are some very rich actors, but most actors actually don't make enough money every year to qualify for health insurance through the union. So we are fighting for fair pay and to make sure that our image and likeness aren't abused by studios with AI, generative AI. And the best way, if you are interested in supporting, which you should if you like television, and I think you do if you like this podcast, is that you can get the word out, tell people, hey, we're on strike, let people know what we're about, and make sure that they know that it's not rich people being greedy, and that it does affect other industries, and also to donate to either the Entertainment Community Fund, and there's also another organization called Green Envelope Grocery Aid, and they give actors and writers money for groceries. A couple of my friends and I have gotten money from them. They're great and very fast about it. Not too many questions. They're just like, yeah, it sounds like you need money for groceries. And then there's the snack list. So those are great places to donate if you can, if you're financially able. And if you're not, I totally understand. I'm fighting for fair pay. And just get the word out. Make sure that, you call out any scabs if you see them, make them feel bad.
Yeah. And what I will say is we'll have all of those links within the description of this podcast, as well as the description of our YouTube if you are interested in helping. And one, we thank you for helping. And also, if you know anyone who is currently striking, make sure to reach out, see how you can support, see how you can be educated. I've learned so much over the past few days of just what is happening. And I think you can't say no to something unless you learn about it, and you have to learn about what is being fought for, because it truly is going to affect everyone, not just actors and writers.
And also another personal plug. I do a podcast with my friend Dana. If you like listening to me talk about TV, we talk about the CW show Reign. I am a CW expert. Dana is a history expert. It is a show about Mary Queen of Scots. And you can find us over on the Patreon for her main history podcast, Noble Blood. So sign up, listen if you want.
And wait till we bring Korama and her co-host on the podcast to talk about Reign's pilot. Max,
I would love to.
Where can people find you?
You can catch me enjoying my best life with $500 and a sausage pizza. You can find me on all things social media at Maxwell Singh.
And you can find me yelling at a dog named Thomas Jefferson that he should have a different name of any other type. But if you are interested in finding me on social media, you can find me at Run Jeff Run. If you are looking for the TV Pilots podcast, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, as well as Threads at TV Pilots License. If you have a question about the show or for our next episode, you can email us at tvpilotslicense@gmail.com or give us a call at 213-290-1713. Make sure to watch out for our Instagram for sneak previews of our upcoming episodes. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. And until then, remember, always be a gladiator in a suit.